I see no reason not to. Oh, forgot to turn on my spotlight. All right. It's Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, on the 18th anniversary of us starting this fucking podcast, we are going to review Jackbox Party Pack number 10.
We're 8 years older than them.
We are older than a lot of things. We're older than Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
Many podcasts have risen and fallen. Empires, entire countries have appeared and disappeared, depending on whether or not other countries recognize them. Yet Geek Nights somehow, 18 years. And while we recorded our first for real episode that was on October 31st, 2005, that was after a couple months of us recording all those beta episodes that are just up on the Patreon for free with commentary and remastered. If anyone wants to hear the episodes of Geek Nights so early that we were not comfortable even putting them on the internet.
Yeah, now we have live streaming video, which we attempted to do with Ustream in who knows what year.
I remember we gotta have a copy of it somewhere because I got stuck in a tornado that messed up the sawmill, so I got home late. And then we recorded that live thing, like we live streamed on Ustream with that fucking construction light, like sitting in the center. Like I was worried it was going to melt the carpet or something. We recorded like an hour and 45 minutes of just us doing live chat. But I remember also, not many people even could live stream back then. So at some point during our stream, I want to say we got promoted to the front page of Ustream, and then a ton of randos came in, and they're all horrible, and then they slowly left as they realized it was just two nerds talking.
Yeah, there was no moderation then.
Yep. That was a long time ago.
All right, well, since it's Halloween, and I didn't get to use my very inexpensive Halloween costume, I got 5 more minutes of use out of it.
Yeah, it's a good costume. It's versatile.
Yeah, I mean, I bought, I don't know if I talked about this last year, but I bought this skeleton body, right? And the skeleton head was not, and it was pretty cheap, but, it's pretty good, right? It's not a bad skeleton head.
Yeah.
But the body was not cheap, right? So it's like just every year, I can just add a different skeleton variety, right? So last year I was skeleton pirate.
Yep.
And this year I'm skeleton king. And
you could be skeleton anything.
Crown for $5 and a cape for $5. It's like, right?
Take a page from Vinci. Be skeleton.
Ooh, skeleton. But as long as I get my $10 worth of use, and then this I'm going to use every year forever, right? So I'll get value out of that. And
yep.
I'm good.
I am investing in a couple of
again someday
because I gotta get I have a really crappy Star Trek uniform costume that is below the line of quality that I will probably ever use again. So I'm actually going to invest in getting a better Star Trek costume because that might be useful in a lot of parts of my life.
Well, before news, I got to take this off because it's not good.
Yeah. I'm going to put a chapter note in the show for pre and post skeleton Scott. Man,
all right, that's much better.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I do I actually have a proper opening bit? I think I do.
That's not. We're not done with opening bits.
I guess that's just opening bit. Let's get right into the main bit. Start with the news. Put a little marker. But anyway, in the news, so this is Overwatch is making a bunch of changes, and all modern competitive video games make changes a lot. Like Marvel Snap has changes, Overwatch has changes, Counter-Strike 2 already has changes, and that's just the way of the world. So
all of them.
Yeah. So anyone who is playing a game there's always a whole bunch of conversation and people are pro and anti-scub around whatever changes they made. Like every little micro community around every game has the nerfs got dropped. They nerfed my favorite character. I'm mad about it in some fashion. But I gotta say, of all the games I have ever played that were seriously competitive and that I cared about, that had ongoing changes like this, Overwatch has consistently, for any other problems that game has had the most detailed developer explanations of their changes of any of these games. Marvel Snap is a not too distant second. Marvel Snap does a good job too.
They do sort of explain their logic, which is, and it's like, sure, okay, explaining your logic about balance changes, but it's like, I want to see companies in general, any organization, right, that, or even people, right, just individual human beings. If you make a decision that affects other people, right, you might make a decision that harms other people. You might make a decision that helps and benefits other people, right? But if you make a decision that affects others, especially when they had no input, right? It's not a democratic decision, right? When it was
you're someone's boss and you're like, you have to come in on Saturday.
Right. You made an autocratic decision, right? It's like, obviously, I would rather have democratic decisions than autocratic ones, and good ones rather than bad ones. But if you're going to make such a decision and it's going to happen, at the very least, even if I strongly disagree with it in every conceivable way, if you give an honest explanation of your reasoning, no matter how much I might disagree with that reasoning, right?
Yep.
I will actually respect that more, right? I might not, than somebody who makes a better decision but refuses to explain themselves.
Yep. Or someone who makes a bad decision and gives a clearly bad faith, not actually the reason they made that decision explanation.
Right. Exactly. It's like, if you come out and say, I support this housing policy. Why? Because I'm racist. It's like, well, obviously I couldn't disagree with you more strongly.
Like, you suck. Right? My middle finger is up, but at least you told me what you are.
Right. It's like, but you know what? It's like, I don't have any further thing to say besides go fuck yourself, racist guy.
Yep.
Right? It's like, that's the end of it. Whereas if somebody's like, we've decided to, take away 5 vacation days from everyone and make you go back to the office. Well, why?
Yep. Now, is the answer...
we're going to say.
Now, imagine the company says, look, we're barely breaking even.
We decided no pride tape on the hockey sticks.
Yep.
Why?
Well, I mean, the NHL, the answer...
No comment. Why? We decided to allow it again. Why? No comment.
I have decided anytime there is no comment, the answer is because I am a coward.
That's right. That's the fill in the blank answer, is because you are a spineless coward.
Yep.
Right?
Well, I always think back to that famous 70s IBM presentation quote, a computer can never be held accountable, therefore a computer must never make a management decision. Because there are a lot of, not computers, but bureaucracies, institutions, any group of more than one person also makes collective decisions that may not necessarily be the result of any one individual's primary input, and therefore, unless that body can be held accountable, it really shouldn't be making decisions either. But also that body should explain why it made a decision. But so an example here. So Overwatch, Diva, the tank I play, the girl, like the gamer girl from Korea. Movement speed penalty reduced from 40 to 30% when using fusion cannons. Micro missile projectile speed increased 40 to 50%.
So that means if you use a fusion cannon, you don't get slowed down. You can keep going fast.
Well, you still get slowed down. You get slowed down less because her deal is her main weapon. You can just fire it forever. It has unlimited ammo and just fires forever if you're holding that button down.
But when you fire it, you slow down.
You slow down a little bit.
But you slow down less than you did before.
Yes, but by 10%, a tiny amount.
Yeah,
and
so you're not going to get hosed.
Yep. And similarly, micro missiles. So you have a secondary attack you can only use every N seconds where you shoot basically an Atano circus straight ahead at someone.
Okay.
So they made them slightly faster. Okay. The added projectile speed to micro missiles helps improve their consistency at medium range, while the decreased movement speed penalty on fusion cannons enables Diva to stick closer to mobile targets, making her more of a threat when diving into the enemy team. So they don't just tell you why they made the change. They tell you, hey, this is how the change will affect you, serious players. If you're a if you're a D.Va diver, you'll be better at it. If D.Va dives into your team, D.Va's more dangerous than she was before.
Mm-hmm.
And they give very detailed updates, but I kind of just wanted to talk about it as an excuse for I've been doing an experiment for a few months. I play Overwatch a lot. It's my current lifestyle game, and I have a rule of only having one primary lifestyle game at a time, so I only play a little bit of Counter-Strike. And I've been trying earnestly. I tried to make a team, but it's just I can't schedule my life around a video game. Like, I can barely schedule my life around GeekNights.
Sound like you're really... You just contradicted yourself. You said, yeah, it's my lifestyle game. It's like, no, it's not. If it's your lifestyle game, you're scheduling around it, right?
No, I didn't say it's my lifestyle game. I said it is a lifestyle game, and I only play one lifestyle game a lot at a time.
Well, it's not a lifestyle game for you if you're not...
I mean, nothing's a lifestyle thing for me except, I don't know, eating good food, wandering around New York, riding my bike. But I have been trying to get good at the game as an individual specifically because that is easy. I can play a game and then watch the replay and take notes on what went well, what went poorly. I can watch the replay again from the perspective of the player who was fucking me up to figure out what were they doing. What could I have done to avoid that? Chatting with my team, taking notes, looking at stats. And you know what? For all the people who say that the matchmaking in games like Overwatch, even a team-based game, is cruel to them and they can never get out of bronze because their teammates always suck. Now, even playing literally nothing but solo rando queue, only playing with randos, complete randos, no input over who's on my team, I have been steadily and consistently rising through the ranks, and this only began when I started analyzing my own play, watching replays, and making active decisions about what will I do differently next time. I mean, it's working.
Yeah, effort and practice works. Yeah, news at 11. I don't know.
Yeah, but remember, a lot of people mistake effort for practice, or they mistake time spent playing a game for effort spent trying to get better at a game.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer.
Yep. like someone who uses an exercise bike all the time at 0 resistance. That is not a material workout compared to even slightly more resistance. But they might think, but I use the bike 8 hours a day. I should be super strong by now.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So yeah, you got some news?
I mean, there probably is a bunch of gaming news, but whatever. I went back, and this year I had, Nintendo has this voucher program, right? Where you can buy vouchers for games. Basically, you're promising Nintendo that you'll buy 2 games because you get 2 vouchers. And the vouchers cost what, like $50 each, 45, something like that.
Yeah.
And you can use them to get basically any game. So the top tier games are always $60. So basically, Nintendo gets your money early. And if you fail to use the vouchers within the year, you just gave them free money, you dumbass.
Yep.
But as long as you get 2 games that are top tier games, I guess if you're a fool and you use them on a cheap game,
yeah,
they get your money. But as long as you use them on top tier games, you save money, right? So it's like, are you going to get 2 Nintendo games this year? As long as you release 2 Nintendo games this year, then yes, I am. So the 2 games of the year were, of course, Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder. So Mario Wonder just came out.
Yep. I have not touched it yet because Emily's out of town and Emily took the Switch with her.
No, I played it quite through a world or two, right? And basically what's going on in this game is it's a lot like other recent Mario games where, there's a world map. In each level, you can collect, in previous games, it was like big coins. Like you're trying to find the big coins in the level, right? And there'd be like 3 per level or something like that. And in this one, it's like these wonder seeds. So basically, you get a wonder seed for hitting the flagpole no matter what in every level. So if you just beat the level, you get a wonder seed. And then there may be more wonder seeds hidden in the level somewhere of somewhat more or less difficulty to obtain or find, right? And then if you get enough seeds, you can open up areas on the world map and continue with the game. You can basically beat the game with like the minimum number of seeds. Like, you really...
I mean, that's been the pattern for Mario games and actually just a lot of Nintendo first-party games in general for a long time.
Yep. They also, when you choose characters, you can choose Mario, Luigi, Princess Toad, Daisy, etc., right, and play the game normally. Or you can pick Yoshi or one of this other, I guess, I don't know if it's a rabbit. I don't know who the guy is or something. I think he's related to Raving, or I don't know what the hell he is. But if you choose them, it's sort of like you don't get to do the transformations like into elephants and stuff, but you're sort of invincible, can't die. So it's like playing the game on easy mode. If you're having trouble, you can beat the game with Yoshi or whatever, no matter what. So that's a thing. And otherwise, it's like they removed the timer on the levels. So every Mario game I've ever played, 2D ones, there's some kind of timer in each level. And if you don't beat the level fast enough, you die, right? In this one, there's no timer. You can just hang out in the level all fucking day. And there's some things you can do. For example, I figured out with the elephant, if you stand near like a certain flower or a pipe or something, and you swing the elephant trunk, it sprays water, you get like 1 coin. You can actually sit there if you want to spend 100 seconds of your life and get a 1-up by getting 100 coins. And it's infinite lives, theoretically, because there's no timer. I didn't do that. But what if I had 99 coins? Yeah, I picked up 1 coin, right?
Yep.
And so there are, however, still lives and game overs. So if you run out of lives, you basically get kicked out of the level, and you have to go, like, you know, on the world map, it sends you back. But like being sent back on the world map doesn't hurt you at all. You just walk back to where you were.
Yeah. That's kind of like, you know, the Wario games where you don't die, you just get like, you fall down a hole and now you got to do a thing again.
Wario's whole thing, and since Wario 2, is that he can't die, period, right? But here, it's like, if you can run out of lives, and if you get game over, there's another currency that you use in the shops, and you lose some of that currency. But you also, when you get sent back, like this temporary, like special bonus round opens, and you can go in there, and if you go in there, you actually recover more currency than you lost.
Yeah.
And you get a bunch of lives back just for game over and to start over again. So
I feel like the lives are almost now just this fiction that doesn't even need to be there anymore. Like they only exist because of the history of video games, and this is like one last recursion. I bet the next Mario game won't have lives. I bet
just don't have the lives, right? The challenge of the game is, even if you can't die, can you find the seeds? Can you obtain them? Because some of the seeds, right, A, are really well hidden, depending on the difficulty of the level, and B, some of them are difficult to obtain even if you do find them. Sometimes there's a time limit to get them and such like that. So it is interesting how much they went out of their way to make the game like guaranteed you're going to beat it without completely getting rid of lives, but sort of effectively getting rid of them.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because on one hand, there are definitely people, a lot of people, not even just kids, who get unduly bent out of shape if they feel like they can't beat a game, even if beating it is effectively the equivalent of beating the first boss in a modern Metroidvania game and thinking that was the whole game. Like, they just need to be told they beat it, or they will be extremely angry. But then there's people who want to fully experience the game and do the upside down castle. And then there's the people who want 100% the game. And I think Nintendo, especially with the Mario games, has done like an amazing job of accommodating all three of those types of people in games naturally without them knowing they're being accommodated, without them picking a difficulty. But I do feel like this is the last Mario game that has the concept of lives.
It could be. But regardless, it's like, well, we talked about how this game is basically not a challenge the way old Mario games were. But actually, this game is still really great because like I said, there is a challenge. Some levels are challenging. Like there's a level where there's like a stampede that it's like it's like basically it's like a really fast auto scroller. Actually, It's pretty tough. And it's like to get the seeds in there, it's like, that's a 3-star difficult level, right? But it's still way fun to like go around the levels, try to figure out, right? Find hidden stuff, interact with all sorts of different interesting bad guys and interactions. There's a lot going on in this game, and it is enjoyable quite a bit. But, is it $60? Enjoyable, right? And if you say that Tears of the Kingdom is $60, it's like...
I mean, by that logic, I don't think any $60 game on Earth is worth what Tears of the Kingdom was worth.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like, Tears of the Kingdom is... it's too soon to say this, but it is, in my opinion, probably the best Zelda franchise game ever made to this point.
Probably.
Like,
but
just from a
single player video game ever made. But the point is that if you bought vouchers and what else are you going to use your second voucher on, right? It's like, this is probably the game. But unless there's some older Switch game you don't already have, right?
Yep.
For some reason. But if you're going to spend $60, I would wait a while for this to be in a discounted state, right? Like a year or so, right? You can get it maybe for 40 or something, who knows? But that doesn't mean I don't have like a criticism of it, other than just set your expectation, right? That this isn't going to be, Mario 3 or like a difficult Mario game, right? This is going to be a more like a Kirby game in terms of, you can just beat it. But if you decide that you want to get every single seed, which I probably will eventually, then there will be some challenge to it, even though the challenge doesn't come in the form of lives and game overs.
Yeah. I still got to go back and get most of the things in Mario Odyssey. Like, I beat it and I got a lot, but I didn't get everything. One last little news. So Deltarune, which is eagerly anticipated, it's a, when it comes out, I'm just going to play the rest of it pretty much immediately and drop everything else. But originally, Deltarune 1 and 2 are two distinct games that are in chronological order, and they're free. You can just play them. Like, just get them and play them. The rest of Deltarune, 3, 4, and 5, the original plan was that if you buy Deltarune for $, you get the remaining 3 chapters. So now you have all 5 chapters.
Oh, I see. So basically, it's sort of like, hey, play my free 1 and 2 games.
Yep.
But if you give me money now, because I need money now, not later, when I need money to make more games, right? I can't make more games without getting money first.
So originally, 3, 4, and 5.
Future games for your money now. I'll give you a game tomorrow for $1 today.
So they were going to wait for 3, 4, and 5 to be done and then release them all simultaneously with that package. So you basically get the entire rest of Deltarune all at once and you just go crazy on it. But announced a little while ago today, like less than an hour ago as of when we're recording Geek Nights, Toby Fox gave an update for Halloween and said that now, in the interest of getting the game in front of people faster, chapters 3 and 4 are going to be released together before 5 is ready. So we'll be able to play most of Deltarune much sooner than we originally anticipated. There's no date for when it'll come out yet, but it should be relatively soon. Because 3 is done.
What if somebody never heard of these games before? Could they then pay the 1 fee and get all the full set?
Yes. The 1 fee is still just for all 5 chapters, and you can still at any point play chapters 1 and 2 from nothing. You can just play them for free anywhere. And if
you could think of it more like a game where 20% of the game is free.
Yep.
And the remaining 80% of the game is 40% of the game. No, fifths.
Yeah, 2/5 are free.
2/5 are free.
3/5 cost 1 chunk of money, and 2/5 of the remaining 3/5 will come out together relatively soon. And then probably there'll be some horrible cliffhanger, and you're going to be really, really upset, Escaflowne style, waiting for 5 to come out. That's just how these games will go. I would highly recommend, if you have never played Deltarune, and if you've never played Undertale, just play Deltarune 1 and 2. They're free. They're short. In fact, 1 is really short. And unlike Undertale, which I think is a very good game, Deltarune does not have the same level of shmup skill gate, and it is more entertainment software. More people can beat it without getting stuck at the first skeleton boss like Scott and a few of our friends did.
I just didn't realize, like, the skeleton boss beat me, and I was like, maybe this is one of those bosses there's no way you can beat it, and there's another way to go. And I just walked around everywhere else seeing if there was another way to go, and there wasn't. And I was like, F this game and it's bad design. I can't figure out where I'm supposed to go next.
It's just a shmup. You just got to shmup at the skeleton. He's not even that
I
hard.
didn't realize that was I was supposed to actually beat that guy. I thought it was one of those,
But you didn't have this concern when you murdered Toriel.
I don't remember what
You murdered your surrogate mother to get out of the.
I also thought it was strange that I played the game. It didn't take that long. That's very early in the game that I right. At least I think it's very early in the game that I.
Well, I guess what I'd say is if Undertale was
the point is that what the information I had about that game before playing it is that people were very, very emotionally tied up in what was going on in that game.
I'm very emotionally tied up in what's going on in that game.
Right. And at the point that I bailed out of that game, I didn't give a fuck. It touched me absolutely nowhere. I was like, what is up with this stupid shit? This reminds me of fucking, what's that fucking weird webcomic thing? All the kids with the gray face paint.
Homestuck?
Yeah, it reminded me of Homestuck, and I was like, I don't give a shit about this.
So, total aside,
so much.
When I went to a train transit advocate meetup with Emily, a couple weekends ago, it was the normal people. These are the people where they had shirts that were just diagrams of particular subway exchanges around the city, and they were playing a game of guessing what everyone's shirt was just from the diagram, and nobody got it wrong. But randomly, Emily's like, oh, yeah, I work in video games. Oh, what'd you do? I worked on the Homestuck game. And of all the people there, all but one did not react to that word at all. And one of them reacted like Emily was a god. The dichotomy is strong. But I guess what
is I didn't care, so that's why I didn't press on.
So what I would say
if they had managed to make me care, I would have pressed on harder.
What I would say,
2 attempts to beat the skeleton.
What I would say to the Scots out there is that Deltarune, from the raw objective perspective of just a game with game design that is intended to be compelling to an arbitrary gamer, Deltarune is better written and better designed. It is a better game by all technical accounts. Toby learned a lot from Undertale, and Deltarune is just better done. But I'm really looking forward to this. All right. But anyway, things of the day. This is a 10-second long YouTube video. It is titled, all lowercase, I could probably beat Ramiel in a fight. And that's it. That's my thing of the day. It's
unless you're a very, 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 very large robot, like Voltron.
Even then, the odds of you beating Ramiel are 0.0000001% canonically.
That's a tough fight, even for the giant robot. And you're a person, so...
I mean, I would say, even if you expand into the realm of classical mythology, like Zeus might not beat Ramiel in a fight.
Probably not.
No. You're going to have to go back to like Kronos, and even Kronos might get fucked up by Ramiel.
I don't know.
I know Kronos actually would probably be able to beat one of the angels, but I don't think Kronos could beat multiple angels simultaneously.
Well, I think, angels could beat angels, right? So
yeah.
It's like Azathoth could beat Ramiel.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not going to spoil the video, but you take a bet on what happens in this video. Do you think this person could, in fact, beat Ramiel? Well, this entity, do you think they can beat Ramiel in a fight? And then in 10 seconds, you will find out the answer.
Person. They have a middle finger that is a human hand. So, it's in the thumbnail. All right, so here's a website. It's a really simple website called the website implements a algorithm known as the Aaronson Oracle. And basically what happens is on this website, you have 2 things you can do. You can either press the F key on your keyboard, or you can press the D key.
Oh, I have forced it down to 46%. It is actually worse at figuring me out.
Okay. And you're going to press one of those 2 keys. Those are your only options, right? And the software will then predict which key you are going to press next, F or D. And if it is correct, then it gets points, and the percentage will go up because that's the percentage of time it guesses correctly. And if it guesses wrong, it goes down because it guessed wrong. It didn't know which one you were going to press next. Now, theoretically, if you were to press the keys completely randomly, if you had a fair coin or maybe some other random, true random number generator and use that to decide which of the 2 keys to press, this would eventually say 50%. There's no way it could do 50% or better than that, or worse, really.
All right, I've been holding it at I'm doing it live on the stream. I've been holding it at 50% for a while now.
All right. But that's like the best you can possibly do is 50%. Now, if you're a human being and you try to press the keys in a way you think is random, but you are not so random as you think you are, right? You have some pattern to you that you may not perceive with your flawed human brain and perception of what is random.
Uh-oh, 51%.
This will, over time, eventually catch your pattern, and it should get around 70%. So the question is, do you have free will? Can you truly generate randomness on your own, right? With your own mind and fingers? Obviously, if you bring some other tool into play, like if you roll a D6 on your table and then press the keys accordingly, you're going to get...
So because I've been going deep into physics, there is a broader question that could be asked of, is there such a thing as randomness?
Yeah, sure. And if you want to know how this works, I'm not going to explain it to you, but you can click the link on the page and read all about it, and it's open source. You can literally read the code and see how it works. It's not that complicated, actually. You could make it actually a lot nastier. This is a pretty simple implementation of the guessing, but you don't really need a much stronger implementation, right? Basically, with this is enough to separate the people who think they're random from actual random.
I'm feeling pretty good about how random I am, but I would bet, I have a supposition, someone who can keep this very close to 50% over a very long number of presses is probably better at tabletop games than someone who cannot do this.
Maybe.
In the meta moment, the Geek Nights Book Club book is The Collected Murderbot Diaries. I have read every Murderbot that has botted, that is out there and available for purchase.
The same.
I got a lot to say about the Murderbot Diaries, but the TLDL is they're great, fun, fast reads, and anyone who is interested in science fiction, like, just read them. They're so short, they're so fast. I like pretty much everything about these books. Like, I have no strong complaints. I mostly want to engage with what is portrayed, how it's portrayed, and why it's portrayed the way it's portrayed when we talk about it in the book club. Otherwise, the Geek Nights panels at PAX Unplugged. On Friday at 5 p.m., we're teaching you how to play Whist, Hearts, and Wizard. And then Saturday, 2:30 p.m. in the Crab God Theater, Mastering Game Mechanics. 58 minutes, give or take, of Rim and Scott talking about nothing but the concept of worker placement in tabletop games. The website's live. Keep giving us feedback, thoughts, comments, any
you can send your website feedback to any of our communication mechanisms, our forum, our email, or whatever. But the best one would be go directly to the GitHub, right, where the source code of the website is, and make issues or even better pull requests. To save me some work. The next feature I'm working on is automatic forum posting, so Rim doesn't have to copy pasta every single episode.
Yeah, we'll get there bit by bit.
It won't, I don't think it'll be that hard. I came up with a way to do it nicely. So,
all right, put a little marker. Name that marker appropriately. Okay. So, there aren't many game series that we review like every single one that comes out other than Nintendo first-party titles. But Jack in the Box game or Jackbox games.
Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box.
I mean, that's why that's part of where the name comes from.
Yeah,
right, is
the Jackbox Party Packs.
People don't really. I don't know how many people realize that back in the 90s, there were these CD-ROM games called You Don't Know Jack.
Yep.
And it was basically a party video game for DOS/Windows 95, whatever. I don't even remember it. But you would sit around the computer with this game, and everyone would have a key on the keyboard, right? That was theirs. And it was a trivia game, and it had the narrator just like, right? And you would push your key to ring in on the keyboard, and then you could answer the trivia. And it was you're competing against the other people who were sitting there. And that's how Jackbox Party Pack came to be. I don't know if it's the same company or someone else just bought the license to the You Don't Know Jack property, but whoever owns the property realized that they could do WebSockets, and people had phones, and you could connect your phone as the input device to the game running on the TV, which is what Nintendo should have done You know, they didn't never use that to the full
with
potential.
like 3 different generations of Nintendo hardware could and should have done that, but didn't.
Why isn't there a game where we can have like one Switch connected to the TV and everyone sitting around still has their own Switch and you just have 6 Switches or whatever?
Also, why has almost everyone who has ever tried to do WebSocket stuff like what Jackbox Games have done with their phones either failed at it or made terrible games? Like Jackbox,
I think it's hard to program. I think that's their value, is that they put the effort in to program that server, that platform, and then because they have the platform made, they every year they can just crank out more games on that platform.
I think it's a trifecta.
Without having to redevelop that core technology.
I think there are
core technology is not easily. You can't just download an open source thing that just does that.
Well, this is why I think there are 3 primary factors on why Jackbox Games have been so successful with this series. 1, they have this technology, and even if they never improve it, it works like shockingly well. So milk, if you got a platform that works in any industry and nobody else has a competing platform that can do what that does, milk it for as long as you can, maybe forever. But 2, they are, every one of these games, they keep pushing the envelope. Like, it's clear they're investing in making this technology platform even better, as evidence now when they attempted something that I didn't think they would actually ever attempt, of a rhythm game that requires synchronization and timing, and it's not perfect, but that is a bold move, which implies that they're trying to make this platform better. And 3, they have invested heavily in very active game design that is very tuned to and reactive to how people play these games. Like, the game design that goes into Jackbox Games is very good.
All right, so Jackbox comes out. If you don't know, they have a new one every single year, basically, in October, which coincidentally is just in time for a Halloween party and a Thanksgiving party.
Yeah.
You know, all the times when your family is going to get together, and these are very family friendly. So it's like, I think that's very strategic, and it works out for them, right? And then just when you get bored of those games, you guess what? Next year there's another one available, and you know what? Maybe you didn't get bored of them. You didn't see your family that year because it was the dark times, and you didn't play the Jackbox games enough that you bought. Guess what? They're still good. They even Jackbox 1 and like the original, all those ones still work. They keep them up. And so you can buy any of the party packs and those games still work. So if at any time, you know, maybe your family has never played any of these, you just pick one of the packs and you start playing it, and eventually you get bored of it, there will always be another pack available for you to buy, even if that's not the newest one. If it's an older one, good, you save money, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to buy a newer one. Anyway, so in the newest pack, pack 10, which we're 8 years older than them because GeekNights is 18, Jackbox is 10. They have released 5 new games. Right, one of which is, it's usually they have the same sort of mix of games, right? They'll do like a redo upgrade of an older game that they know is good. They'll do, always has to be a trivia game of some kind. And then the rest are sort of, new ideas, twists on old ideas, things of that nature. So Rim mentioned the rhythm game. Let's talk about that one. The rhythm game is called Do Do Re Mi, and it is not, as far as I can tell, a competition between players as the others.
Oh, not at all.
No.
Do Do Re Mi is basically a Rock Band with everybody's phones, and it's actually pretty well designed for what it is, but it really feels like it's a toy and a tech demo.
Yeah, this is version 1.0. It is impressive that the way it works is everyone connects like normal to Jackbox.
Yep.
Then it makes everybody go tap, 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 like in sync. I like this. You get this one chance to sync, and that syncs everyone's music device.
I'm going to say right now, that was a mistake. It needs more taps and a second round of refinement and an ability to redo it, because every time we tried to play, at least one person wasn't ready and didn't tap and was desynced from everybody else.
Yep. It's like there needs to be a button you can press to all right, let's redo the taps. Everyone ready? Right? It's like it just comes at you and it's like, okay, here we're going to do the taps. Go, go, go. Tap, tap, tap. It's like, what? I wasn't ready yet. I was, I tapped once early, and then I was like, shit, I tapped once early. I used one of my 3 taps. I can't correct it in any way.
Yep.
So, it's like, I understand they don't want to bog it down with a whole bunch of synchronization time, and then you ruin the game because everyone's doing that.
I can't imagine the group of people who want to play this game actively and would, like, the kind of person who would be very excited about this game is the same group of people where everyone is 100% on point, knows how their phone works, gets the volume set right, does the tap in unison, and doesn't fuck it up.
Yep. But anyway, you get it synced, and now then you choose an instrument. I completely missed choosing an instrument because I was too fuffled from messing up my tap sync. So that was annoying.
Yep.
But everyone chooses an instrument, and then you play a really simple rhythm game where there's basically three lines with notes coming down, and you tap on your touch screen.
3. I had like 8 or 9.
Oh, I don't remember how many there were.
I think it depends on the instrument you pick too.
Maybe, but dots are falling down from the top of your screen to the bottom, and you just tap on them when they hit the point. You know,
Yeah, it's just Guitar Hero effectively with tapping online.
it's the most basic rhythm game, and you play it, and everyone plays together. And if you got all these different instruments, it sounds like you're playing the song using the weird instruments.
Yep.
Right?
The only real problem, like the cool part is the phones make the sounds. So if you're in a place that's quiet enough, then you hear all the different phones making the sounds live, and it actually is pretty cool. The problem was half our friends either didn't turn their volume on purpose because they didn't want to, or were unable to because they didn't really know how their phones worked because they had never set their phones to anything but silent ever.
Yep. Or, they only use their phone with headphones. They had it, right? It's
Yep.
like, you don't have enough time to set up and make sure that, like, that shit is working, right? There needs to be, like, a completely paused screen where everyone can verify and all that shit that the other games don't require.
Yep.
But I got to say, for something that is using WebSockets on phones, of all random browsers on phones, the amount that it works when it does work is... and the real timeness of it is pretty impressive, actually.
Oh yeah, I picked an instrument that gave me a very through the fire and through the flames situation, and it just worked, and it sounded fine, and the tapping lined up, and I felt it was fair and accurate and well synced.
So after everyone plays the song, it basically replays the song as you played it, right? Sort of a recording of your inputs, and then if you, as a group, did well enough, you defeat this monster, and it's like, hooray, we came close, but we did not defeat the monster.
Yep.
So I don't know what happens when you beat it.
I think it just unlocks
basically, if
more
you play
stuff.
it
It has an unlocking progression, like...
If you play it enough, you unlock more songs. You have to do, it forces you to do this tutorial song. Then it unlocks, like, another set of basic songs. We didn't unlock beyond that.
Yep. I feel like this is just, like you said, this is the tech demo proof of concept version 0.1. I am pretty confident Party Pack 11 or 12 is going to have a much more evolved rhythm game based on the experience and feedback from this one.
Yeah. I would recommend this to people who are like, so like if you're crazy about rhythm games, this will disappoint you because it's so basic, right? But if you just like rhythm games and you would kind of like to play one with other people like Rock Band once in a while, but no, you don't want to have any plastic instruments in your house, then this is okay to have, right?
Yeah.
And it will be much cooler when they have Deltarune 2 in the future, right?
So
Okay.
game number 2, because I think every Jackbox Party Pack has at least one trivia game, the origins of Jackbox.
Mm-hmm.
And full disclosure, Scott and I are generally not big fans of trivia games.
Well,
That said,
the thing is, trivia games sort of fall into like these two categories, right? Where some trivia games, like Trivial Pursuit, which is like the worst, right?
Yep.
It's sort of these binary trivia games, right? You know it or you don't. Jeopardy, for all the good things you can say about Jeopardy, is a really binary game. You either know it or you don't. The end, right?
you need a very well-matched set of intersecting knowledge of people, or someone just runs away with the trivia game and someone else just literally can answer 0 questions.
Right. So for trivia to be good, you either need like really brainy people, really targeted questions. You need to have groups of people who can, on teams, like at a bar where people could pool their knowledge, and then thus someone on your team might have a chance of knowing the answer or having a good guess, even if someone else is clueless. And because otherwise, if you just don't know the answers, it's like it's the most pointless thing in the world.
What are you going to do? There's no power up to make you know the answers except cheating and looking at your phone.
Right.
Like,
So the other kind of trivia game that's good, the high quality trivia games, are usually involve things where you can figure it out, or it's like horseshoes where you guess and you get points for getting close. So I think if you look for a Geek Nights episode about the America / Flora Fauna by Friedman Freeze board game.
Yep, I'll link to our review. We reviewed this a long time ago.
Wits and Wagers, that's a similar one.
Yep.
Right? There's a lot of trivia games out there where you just have to like get close. And there's ways of guessing, and like you can use your general knowledge to have educated guesses.
Yep.
When you don't just fucking know the answer.
Like, what state was Jaws set in? Well, I may not know what state it was set in, but I know it's a movie about a shark attack, so that narrows it down already. Like,
yep, exactly.
So Time Jinx, the trivia game in this one, is in that second category mostly. It's actually, I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would, and I would play it again because it reminds me of
other than the Fibbage Friends one, All About You, this might be one of the better, maybe the best, possibly trivia games that's in there. I like it a lot better than that one where you're the horror one.
Oh, the murder. I hate that one.
The murder one, yeah. This is much better than that.
Yeah, and the shtick's pretty simple. It's a lot like there's a board game we played at I think the first Unplugged where you line. I forget what the chronology one. There's a few trivia games that are kind of like that, but this one basically is the answer is always a year, and you guess the year, and it gives you a range to guess within. So like, what year did India gain its independence? And it gives you a range of dates, and just pick a date, and you get scored based on how close you got to the date, and it shows you where everybody picked. And that's pretty much it. Like, it just does that over and over in various forms.
Some hints and other twists and turns, but that's the fundamental game is how close can you get to the correct year.
But it has two game design elements that I think are actually significant evolutions of game show / trivia scoring that I think people might not notice, and I think they're very important. Because the main problem with a trivia game that is horseshoes adjacent, like the good category, is that even if that is true, if someone like gets good answer, like is doing well early, then they'll just win in the end, and there's really no way to catch up. And if someone like really stinks it up early, they kind of just can't win in the end. Like, the outcome is predetermined pretty quick. So most games, especially game shows, do the escalation. And a lot of Jackbox games up to this point do the escalation. So round 1, you get 1 point per answer. Round 2, you get 10 points per answer. Round 3, you get 1,000 points per answer to give people a chance to catch up. That doesn't necessarily work for all the reasons as a Geek Nights listener you can imagine.
Basically, once you know that that's going to happen, you realize that the early rounds are meaningless. And you're just sort of fooling around. And then everything depends on the final answer. Which is not that satisfying.
So in general, catch-up mechanisms in games like this tend to be unsatisfying in varying ways. The way this one handles that is, one, it divides the playing field after the first question, or the second question, at some point pretty early. And whoever is below the line gets a pretty good hint. That is like, it's almost like you get 2 trivia questions that both have the same answer, and it really helps you out.
As long as you know one of them, you're good.
Yep. And it sucked not getting that answer because I would have definitely 100% of the rest of the game if I'd gotten those extra answers. But I didn't get those answers because I was in second place, and that was probably for the best. But 2, the way the secondary escalation happens is not get more points later in the game, or in this case, get fewer because you're trying to be lowest score.
It's like golf, right? So when you're close, you're getting a lower score. If you get a higher score, how many years off are you?
Yep.
That's bad.
Like, if you think the French Revolution happened in the 1900s, well, yes, that's... But the way the escalation works, there are rounds toward the end where instead of getting a bigger, like a bigger score differential, you are competing for what is your current score reduced by in terms of a percentage. And that is very clever because if you are doing poorly and you are spot on, like you get the perfect answer in the final round, it'll reduce your score by like 50 or 60%, which is huge. That could make you go higher in the ranking materially, could even win it. But if you are already doing very well, if you stink it up, well, you're not going to reduce your score. But even if you get it perfectly, all right, I reduced my score of 16 by 50%. Down to 8.
Right. You're basically just sort of collapsing the scores in like a sort of like basically grading on a curve, right?
Yep.
But the thing is, you have to do good in the curve round. It's like rather than just automatically putting everyone in a curve to squish everyone together, it's like, all right, here's your chance. How much are you going to get curved? And
it works really well because generally the people who were doing well the whole game will still be ranked very highly at the end because it's a trivia game. Like if you know the answers, you're just going to win.
But if you fucked up like one question really bad, but you know what's up, you can get back into things.
Yep.
And if one of those people ahead of you, then they screw up after that round and now they don't have a chance, now you could win.
And it also lets the players' rankings, even though you're not going to win if you were stinking it up, you could easily go from last place to like third or fourth place just by being really good in that final round. So it gives the less experienced or skilled players a last hurrah that feels meaningful to them, but doesn't disrupt who really won the game. So good design.
Good design. All right, let's talk about, instead of saving the best for last, let's just go for it. So TKO, one of our favorite Jackbox games of all time, if not are the favorite, the game where you design t-shirts and then laugh at them.
Yep.
And is mostly for humor and not about winning, really. They came out with TKO 2, which is the reason to get this thing. Obviously, if you like TKO 1, you're going to like TKO 2 because it's the same fucking thing.
Yep, just streamlined with a little bit of extra sauce.
Right. Yeah, you draw shirts. You write slogans, then you mix them up combine them into shirts, or now hoodies and tank tops.
Which I didn't think would have a huge impact, but a particular tank top in the game we played, I think won because it was a tank top. It was too perfect.
Yep, I think it matters, right? But then you vote on which ones are the best. They have a little tournament between the t-shirts and or at the shirts, the top clothings. And one of them is the winner. Now, things that they have done to improve over TKO 1. First of all, the lore, right? So in TKO 1, there are all these characters that you could choose.
And they're all like yokai of some kind.
Yeah, there was like Umbrella Guy, Snake Guy, right? In TKO 2, all of those characters are sort of in the background as ghosts. They died in t-shirt battles, except the bunny has returned as a playable character. He's all old and grizzled like a war veteran with like an eye patch and shit. Thus, they're trying to tell you the bunny won TKO 1 and is back again like a battle royale or some shit.
The bunny
island.
The bunny is Gohan.
Also on an island. So the last surviving TKO battler is from TKO 1 is the bunny, and all the other combatants are new. They're all new characters.
But it's just streamlined. Like I think it takes 30 to 50% less time to play around. Like it's just
right. So that's the big thing is number one, the speed. The tournament just goes faster. They're like, all right, here's 2 shirts, vote. Here's 2, vote. Here's 2, vote, done, right? The other one would be like, give you all sorts of time and play all sorts of music. It's like this one does it as fast as it can go without it being too fast, which is great. You're doing the same exact thing and just faster and more exciting.
Yep.
And the other thing is that the tools for drawing the shirts are vastly improved. More colors. You got 2 different markers. You know, it's like, it's just the drawing tool is way better than it was before, which is nice.
So
get more creative. And, the one other change is that in the second round of drawing t-shirts, instead of drawing a completely new shirt, you could take a previous shirt and edit it instead and add on. You might even add on to someone else's shirt that they drew in the first round of drawing, and that could be fun.
I like that addition. Just giving players a little more agency just makes a game like this better.
I think it'd be really cool. It's like one person can't draw and another person draws really well, and a really well-drawn shirt makes it to the second round or doesn't make it, and then someone who can't draw like puts googly eyes on it or some shit. Yeah. But also vice versa. You draw a piece of crap drawing, and then the artist in the room gets that and remixes it in round 2 for a masterpiece. Right? So that possibility is opened up by TKO 2. I think if you like TKO, you should get TKO 2, and basically there's no reason to play TKO 1 anymore ever because TKO 2 is the exact same thing, only better. The end.
Yep. So let's talk about the weakest entry, I think, which would be Fixie Text.
You think Fixie Text is the weakest?
I think it's interesting. It's hard. I almost would have to play more.
The two remaining ones are equally weak, I think.
Yeah, but weak for different reasons. Because so there's Hypnotorious and Fixie Text. The shtick with Fixie Text is you get divided into teams, and a group of you type in a text message responding to someone, and your goal is basically to be a prick.
There is a text conversation between two fictional characters, and one of them says something and another one replies. And then that reply that's already pre-generated, right? It's not an empty text box. Everybody on your team can now edit that reply, but only by adding on to it.
Put your cursor somewhere and start typing.
Right. All you can do is place your cursor somewhere in the text box and add characters. You can't backspace anything ever. And each person has a limit to how many characters they can add. If everyone adds the maximum characters, the text box will be full, right? And then after you're done editing the response collaboratively, everyone votes on which words in the text box are the funniest.
Like you pick 5, and you can double tap to pick one twice if you want, and it...
Yeah, but it's like instead of voting for 5 words once each, you could vote for 2 words once each, and then a word twice, and then I guess with only 5 votes, you'd have to vote another one.
Now,
you get the idea, you can only double, you can't triple vote a word.
My complaints and concerns...
Vote a word, that's less words total you can vote on.
I think there is a crowd where this game could be extremely funny, but because of how difficult and chaotic it is to type in the thing, I feel like most games anyone will ever play of this will devolve into the swear words, and the outrageous nonsense kind of wins the day. It's very hard to be purposefully and cleverly funny, just the way it ends up playing out.
Yep, it's like you just insert your cursor and write poop, ass, whatever, and you'll probably win with a well-placed poop.
Yep.
Right?
And two, this game suffers from the fact that while one team is typing, the other team just has to fucking sit there doing nothing. That is a sin against most of the Jackbox games up to this point, in that the game design of Jackbox games very rarely has players doing nothing for an extended period of time.
But
players, active players, rarely are just sitting there with no way to interact in any way for longer than a trivial amount of time.
Not only no way to interact, but no reason to pay attention so much.
Yep. In fact, it's not even fun to watch what's happening on the screen. It is fun to try to type, and it's fun to vote, but everything in between is not that fun.
Yeah, I don't even think the voting's that fun, but I do think the positive of this one is the technological aspect of that. You're in the real-time editing is a lot like, a Google Doc, right? Everyone's typing in a Google Doc together all at the same time, and they're using that technology.
And there's definitely something there. We have conversed in the past about competitive Google spreadsheet as a game somehow.
Yep, exactly. So. And then Hypnotorious. Hypnotorious is basically, it's a lot like a game of werewolf, sort of, right?
Yeah.
It's a hidden role game, right? And so basically, everyone gets assigned an identity, a unique identity, right? And you don't know what anyone else's identity is unless you look at their phones. And then there are categories, and you don't know what the categories are, right? So one time we played, the category was 90s movies, 2000s movies.
No, it was 90s TV shows, 2000s TV shows, 2010s TV shows. So that's I guess the most important thing. When I went into this game, I thought the categories would be very ham-fisted Jackbox style. They were
TV shows, fruit, and sports teams.
They were so narrow. One of the other games, it was smooth things, crunchy things,
chunky things, and something else, right? So it's like you don't know what the categories are. Nobody knows what the categories are, but you know what your identity is. And it asks you these questions, and everyone answers the questions as taking on the role of their identity. So it's like, hey, what would you do on a first date or something? And it's like, I'm peanut butter. What do I do on a first date? It's
I am the 90s award-winning sitcom Seinfeld as a concept.
Right. It's like, but it asks you, what did it ask you? What do you do on a holiday?
Yep.
And
So
you're
I
like-
was like, air my grievances, like the Festivus poll, air my grievances, something, something.
Right. Exactly. So now everyone knows what rim is, right?
Yep.
But basic.
The funniest thing is, because the categories were so narrow, 4 people all thought they were in the same category as me.
Right. Well, because we're all TV shows. So it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm a TV show. And Rim is obviously a TV show.
Yep.
We're probably in the same category. I was X-Files, right?
Yep.
So it's like, I'm probably with Rim, right? Because we're both TV shows.
When Scott was like, I want to believe, I realized 100%, and we were fully telepathically linked, it's 90s TV shows. Like, we knew it was 90s.
Yeah.
It's just, we felt it.
Yeah. Well, I think it gave us a hint that the time period mattered.
Yeah.
At some point. But it's like, if we didn't know what the categories were, right, then other people who were like TV shows from other eras would strongly believe that they're in our group, right? And basically, you're trying to, on your own, sort of organize without anyone knowing the categories into 3 buckets, and you want to be in the correct bucket, right, with the people who are in your category without knowing what your category is. Just how you're trying to figure out who you're similar with based on your answers to these questions. And the final
Twist.
kink, the twist is that there will always be one person, they don't know who they are, who is in a category on their own. So there's 3 groups, and one group always has exactly one person. The other 2 groups will have at least 2 people each, but you don't know how many. It could be divided evenly.
Yep.
It could be, like the whole lot and then just 2 in the other group. You don't know. And you don't know what the groups are, and you're trying to arrange yourself in the right groups and to get points. And there is some cleverness to that design, and there's a little bit of humor in the answering of the questions.
My only real complaint is that victory, like the scoring is kind of meaningless and victory doesn't matter. The only thing that's fun about it is the process.
If you are the outlier, the one who's in a group by yourself, you are very likely going to win because there's a point at which everyone votes on who they think the outlier is, like mid-game. And if they don't vote like with a majority, or if they don't get it right, then the outlier gets like a shit ton of points. And it's like, they don't even know they're the outlier. They're voting along with everyone else. It's like, yeah, they have really no control over that whatsoever. And they got a pile of points when everyone gets it wrong, which is the most likely outcome. I guess if everyone gets it right, then the outlier would be very unlikely to win. It's like the whole winning and losing really hinges on that a lot.
Yeah, the only real thing I have to say in this game's favor and why I liked it more than Fixie Text, which admittedly low bar, was that I noticed when we played it, everyone, even the people who were kind of quiet up to that point, talked and debated and like socially deducted openly. Like the game did encourage everyone to do that, and it happened. Whereas, remember that werewolf monster texting one, which is a similar deduction game, nobody really did that, and everyone just was kind of befuddled and staring at their phones. Like it encouraged.
That is a good point. Is that a lot of social deduction games are all about like finding the traitor or who's bad. Or 2 opposing sides. Whereas here, this is like a co-op social deduction. Like we're all against the game together. PVE. Right? Team PV computer. Figuring out what those stupid categories are.
Because like Scott and I are like, we're in the same category for sure. And then like 3 more people pile into our category. And we're 100% sure some of them are wrong. But it's trying to suss that out socially was an interesting problem. Like more so than I expected. They don't want to
reveal their identities either.
And now you're second guessing, are the categories weird and I'm stupid? Or is my friend like just wrong about this?
Right. Or it's like you could just all reveal your identities and the games would be really poor, awful. I'm sure some children do that, right? But if you play it in good faith, then, But yeah, the thing is, even with all those, aspects, I can't see playing this on purpose that much.
I would consider playing it once with the right group of people. Like I would play it as if we're doing a Jackbox night, it'd get thrown up on the screen once, but I don't think I would put Fixie Text up on the screen.
No, I think if I bought this pack, obviously TKO2 and Time Jinx are the ones getting a lot of play. And if you've got some new people there, you might play the other ones once each if they're curious.
But I think I would say Fixie
Tech.
Fixie Text has the least going for it as a game to play more than once.
Yep. But is it worth it to pay the current price of $35 for this pack.
You got to be a Jackbox person, because if
You
you
got to be playing this a lot.
if
right?
you own a bunch of other Jackbox games,
Or it could be that you're having a party right now and you really want to, and it's like, it's time. Let's just fucking do it so we can make a podcast about it.
Yep.
Then okay, you'll pay $35 and maybe wish you didn't do a podcast. So you didn't have to do that, but
I mean, you can be confident that me, Rim, or Scott will buy every Jackbox Party Pack game that comes out and review it, unless they cross us in some way, for as long as they keep making them.
Over time, it's gonna be a long time before TKO 3 comes out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play TKO 2 enough over time that I get my money's worth. But you should probably wait for this to be inevitably discounted to 20 or something less than that, right?
Yep.
Unless you're just playing a lot of Jackbox all the time, or you're a streamer